Welcome back. Deputy President Paul Mashatile has had a tough first Q&A session in Parliament. He faced MPs yesterday who took him to task over the Phala Phala saga, corruption and the energy crisis. Mashatile says the ANC is not protecting the president over the theft of foreign currency at his Limpopo farm in 2020. But let's get you some more analysis on how the Deputy President fared. Political analyst Dr. Koma joins us via our video link this morning. Sam, it's great to see you. Thanks very much indeed for coming onto the program. Some will say he had a tough time. Some will say he was grilled by Parliament. Others will say he did very well to toe the party line. How do you see it?
Well, thanks, Michelle, and for this opportunity. Yes, I think it should be pointed out that the Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, is not new to Parliament, having previously served as the Minister of Arts, and also he has governance experience, especially in the context of having served in various portfolios as MEC in the Gauteng provincial government, first as Minister of Finance, MEC for Finance, and also MEC for Economic Development, and later as MEC for Culture. So he fairly answered the questions that were raised by parliamentarians, and also it should be pointed out that he did not drift away from the pronouncements that were made by the President during his SONA, and also later the budget speech which was delivered by Minister of Finance in terms of the issue around ensuring energy security. One, the debt relief package that has been given to Eskom to the tune of 254 billion rand over the next 3 years MTEF cycle. The issue of the installation of the solar rooftops for households and also businesses. So he stuck to the major pronouncements which were made by the President and also the Minister of Finance around that particular issue. But I found him to be very confident, well composed, and also fairly well prepared in terms of responding to the questions.
As expected, he was going to face questions always about the issue of accountability. We know that Parliament and its oversight role has been high up on all of our agendas, given what the State Capture Inquiry said about the failure of Parliament to hold the executive to account, right? Shall we take a listen to what he had to say around the issue of holding President Cyril Ramaphosa accountable for Phala Phala?
Honorable Khalif, you got it wrong. We are not shielding. Let me repeat what I said. The President has expressed his commitment to cooperate fully with all investigation. So there is no shielding. I think sometimes there is a zeal to find the President guilty without going through due processes. It's not correct. We are a democracy. We have institutions that we have set up independent. Nobody's interfering with them. Let's not be impatient. Let's allow these institutions to do their work properly. The President is cooperating. He's not interfering. And I can assure you that institutions are doing their work without fear or favor.
So that's what he had to say, but then I suppose a follow-on question is around the establishment of that ad hoc committee, which was squashed by the ANC as you know we predicted it would be, using its majority. Why not then go through something like an ad hoc committee, at least as a show of faith for the South African public that Parliament is still doing its work, accountability is high up on the agenda?
Yes, Michelle. In fact, let me start with the issue he raised around majority rule. He's correct to say in any democratic setup or system, majority rule is one of the cornerstones, and also it's an established principle. But it should be pointed out that majority rule is not always the correct position. And this was affirmed by the unanimous Constitutional Court judgment on the Nkandla matter. The court ruled that Parliament got it wrong by absolving the then President in holding him accountable and also complying with the remedial action measure that was taken by the public protector around the matter. So there's a precedent already set on this issue. of accountability that needs to be executed on the part of the sitting president. But he's correct to say, let's allow due process to unfold. You remember, we have the South African Reserve Bank that already has issued a statement that the president has complied with the tax laws and regulations. Two, we have the Hawks that also has stated that so far they've secured 170 witness statements. They are going ahead with the investigations around this particular matter, and in due course, they will also have to deliver a report around their findings and also what would be the steps that they have to take in terms of holding those implicated in this particular matter accountable. We have the public protector that has already issued a provisional report. It is sitting with the president. He has to comment and also make his own submissions. So I will state that Parliament has to wait for conclusion of all these processes and the work that is done by the public protector, because ultimately the public protector is going to come up with a remedial action measure that will have to be tabled before the National Assembly for deliberation and also debate around the outcomes of the investigation. Yeah. So there's no need at this stage for an ad hoc parliamentary committee to be set up. It can only come in when all the the investigations have been concluded. We know the findings, we know the recommendations or the steps that needs to be taken. So Parliament at that stage can then activate its accountability mechanism by holding the president accountable. Because the matter of Phala Phala is very complex. It covers criminal related issues and also issues related to compliance with the respective legislation that have been put in place.
So the comment from the Deputy President was, when the ANC believes its course is correct, it will use its majority to push those decisions. And by the way, winning positions and decisions is something you win out there in elections. But what I want to focus on is the beginning part of that statement from Paul Mashatile, Dr. Koma. When the ANC believes its course is correct, it will use its majority to push through those decisions. And as you say, it's a democratic principle insofar as the majority in Parliament is concerned. But I suppose the issue comes in around the trust deficit that exists from the outside, from South Africans, from the electorate, insofar as that perhaps I don't trust that the course you believe is correct is indeed the correct one. That really is where the waters become a lot more muddy.
Yes, as I stated, he's totally wrong on that part, because the ANC was found wanting on the Nkandla matter that was decided upon by the Constitutional Court. We know that the Phala Phala matter is now a matter subject to judicial review. We cannot preempt, he can't preempt, that at this stage the ANC is correct in not taking steps to hold the president on this particular matter. So until the judicial review process is concluded, it may arrive at a different determination. To say, no, Parliament, you should have held the president accountable from day one when this particular matter came to the public domain. So he can, on this one, he's misplaced. He cannot convincingly say, as the ANC, we are correct on this particular position that we've taken by not holding the president accountable internally within the ANC and also within the context of government.
Right. I mean, are we viewing all of these events now? Just every single appearance in Parliament, every Q&A session, every road show, every statement being made by the governing party, and I suppose opposition parties as well, through the lens of what is to come in 2024?
Yes, all these political parties, including the ANC and the opposition parties, they are now working the ground. They are preparing the ground for the most competitive national elections we'll witness in 2024 for the first time since the dawn or advent of our constitutional democracy. So they want to capitalize on any weaknesses on the part of the dominant party. The dominant party is also taking advantage of the weakness of these opposition parties in terms of presenting an alternative as part of their political agenda to dislodge the ANC come 2024.
So what is your prediction, Dr. Koma, as we round off our discussion this morning? Plenty of analysts have weighed in about what this election will mean for the governing party. Will it struggle to get 51%? Might it not even reach that majority? How do you see it unfolding?
Yes, two scenarios, Michelle. The ANC at the moment is sitting at 57.7% of the electoral outcome based on the 2019 elections outcome. So one scenario is the ANC going below the 50% mark. The other scenario is the ANC maintaining its dominance by securing a 54 or sitting at 57% to allow the ANC to govern without having to think of a coalition partner. So we have two scenarios that we can start painting and also looking through come 2024, that it is likely to dip below the 50% mark, and also it is likely to maintain its majority rule come 2024.
Dr. Sam Koma, thanks so much for joining us this morning on the AM Report. Political analyst Sam Koma weighing in there on a whole range of issues, but particularly insofar as the Deputy President Paul Mashatile's first Q&A session that took place just yesterday.